What is going on, everybody? Bobby Fi here. Good to see my man K9 already in the chat. What's up, Peyton Wavy? Good to see you guys. Gonna get real to it. I am basically, there's a ton of great pitching options on this slate, I feel like, and there's a lot of them that I think you're gonna get very low ownership on. And that is where I want to start, because I think that's a way to get different. Because my favorite stacks today are the Yankees, Braves, and Dodgers. Now, the Yankees and Braves will get some ownership for sure. I think people are kind of done with the Dodgers a little bit. And I understand, been frustrating. I am actually going to be heavily on the Dodgers. I'm also going to get exposure to the Angels in Baltimore. But because I'm playing a little more chalky stacks than I normally would on a big slate, I want to get a little different with some pitching. So we've got Giolito and Snell, who are both going to be really popular, right? I do really like Giolito. I prefer him in that of those two. I love Zach Wheeler, and I think people will be a little bit hesitant, a little lower ownership than we're used to getting on Wheeler. Charlie Morton is going to have lower ownership than normal, but I would prefer to play Zach Gallen at 900 cheaper than Morton myself, because of how bad Colorado is to righties on the road. Aaron Ashby, and then the guy who I'm really going to be high on is Tariq Skubal. These White Sox have not done anything. I mean, look, they made that what's his name, Bierke, look like the best pitcher in baseball last night. They looked like they might get no hit there for a minute. Why wouldn't we play some Tariq Skubal? Now, I understand the White Sox are better against lefties, but I think we should get involved in the Skubal game and definitely get some exposure there. He's going to be one of my highest owned pitchers. The other guys, so I have Wheeler, Skubal, Giolito as my highest owned, and then Gallen just behind them with Ashby and Bissett following. I don't think I need to differentiate too much, but I think that, where I have a Yankee stack, I'll play Skubal in that lineup, for example. Where I have the Dodgers stack, I'm more comfortable going a Giolito Gallen or a Giolito Wheeler kind of a thing. That's just sort of the way I'm treating this. As Rhodey said, let's get it. It's Friday. It's a big day. Let's get after it. And I'm going to use these, like I said, I'm going to use these Angels in Baltimore to fill out little pieces of things. Now, the weird part is I'm prioritizing Trout as a guy, even though I'm not into the Angels stack as much today. I am going to prioritize nobody specifically from Baltimore, but there's going to end up being almost one or two guys from Baltimore on a good portion of my lineups tonight, if not all of them. That's just sort of as filler pieces. I mean, cheap guys like Urias, who I'm using at third base quite a bit. Any of the outfielders, any of the first basemen. I like all of those guys. Bassett, the only thing that worries me is so here's the guy who has the longest leash of anybody on the slate, not named Wheeler, and actually probably pretty close between the two of them. And a great matchup, obviously. I am a little concerned about him coming back off of the illness. He hasn't pitched in a couple weeks now. And so I have him a little bit below Gallen, and it makes me nervous. I think he's actually the better play at most times here. I'm a little concerned with him coming back from the illness, and he's going to have a little higher ownership, so it's easier for me to just pivot and go Gallen. On FanDuel, the pitching is interesting because I think that Giolito over there at 8,800 is still fine. I love Wheeler at 10-2. I'm not even sure where he ends up ownership-wise. Ashby 68 is a really solid play. And a guy I didn't mention on DK, I'm going to use some of his Jose or Kitty. I just think he's got a really good chance at throwing a quality start here, getting the win, and ending up in the 40-plus fantasy point range. And that should be, I think that could be very, very well be right there with the top guys. Probably got the best win equity of any of these other guys. So I really like the idea of playing a little bit of Urquidy on FanDuel. Hey, Sharks, good to see you. Going through some of the positions. Catchers, Trevino, Will Smith, Contreras are going to dominate my catchers. I'm actually going to try to differentiate a little bit of Atlanta stacks. I'm going to prioritize playing Contreras and Olsen together on FanDuel, because I think that gets you a little bit different. If you do something like that, I think including Trevino in a Yankee stack is on FanDuel is an interesting way to get different over there. Things like that are ways you can get different with popular stacks, if you like them, while not going too crazy outside the board. Now, the other stacks that are definitely going to, definitely I wouldn't mind if you wanted to take some shots with. I even though I like Skubal, I think the White Sox against lefties, I think it's kind of interesting. Also, I still don't trust that Detroit bullpen. I think both sides of the Cleveland-Cincinnati game, Cleveland-KC game are interesting. I think the one who I'm not getting to, who I thought I was going to be high on early in the day, is Milwaukee. And I actually think that's a really, really solid stack. I understand that I actually don't think Brubaker is as bad as these other pitchers for Pittsburgh, but bad bullpen behind him, certainly nothing crazy special. And you've got a pretty good team with guys who have been priced up to making it a little bit weird to play them now. Like Rowdy Tellez at 5,100, no one's going to do. I like the idea of getting some exposure there. Maybe they'll be a little more owned on FanDuel. The other stack that, it might hurt me not to be playing, Houston. They're one that I considered for quite a while. Arizona against Cool, thinking to have some ownership. I like those. Those are my favorite ones that are outside of the ones that I'm using. And I do want to just keep going back to this Baltimore situation. I just think you've got some cheap options on both sides that are interesting. But for me, it's going to be sort of reserved for mini stacks. I don't have a ton of respect for either pitchers, although I considered Wells at one point when I wanted to spend down earlier today. But I think, people aren't now. We got Austin Hayes at 4,700. I don't see people wanting to do that as much. Mountcastle, Santander, Mancini, Urias. These are all guys who I think are very, very viable today, as well as, of course, Cedric Mullins. So if you want to go full stack in that game, I have no problem with it. Personally, I will be mini stacking that game for the most part, and have like the 1 to 2 from each side with my main stack, basically, is the way I'm treating it. I don't think you have to absolutely full stack everything. And by the way, another little boost. I'm just going to talk about the umpire data real quick. You do have Phil Cuzzy in the Bassett game, so taking Bassett, give a little boost to Bassett for that. Not a guy who struggles all that much with his command, but always a boost to get the extreme pitchers umpire on a slate where there aren't as many extreme umpires these days, because people have gotten a little better. You have the best hitters umpire on the slate in the Yankee game, which makes me just higher on those Yankees. You also do have the pitchers umpire in the Milwaukee game in Doug Eddings. And I think that speaks more to Ashby. I still am okay with the Milwaukee stack because of the ownership, but just speaks maybe a little bit more to playing some more Ashby, because these young guys, we know they can get in trouble with their control. Tyler Anderson is not a FanDuel play for me. And to be honest with you, I actually think that he is a reasonable play, but I am not, I just don't find him as, how am I playing him over the guys in his range that I like? You know what I mean? At 9K, I like Gallen better at 8,200. I like Snell better at 8,400. I like Giolito better at 8,800. I like Urquidy better at 8,100. It just doesn't feel like a play that I'm going to end up making today, so I'm going to probably not be on the – and Bassett and even John Gray I would probably put right there with Anderson. Sonny Gray too. So there's a lot of guys you can choose from, and I don't really love the idea of a low ceiling pitcher when you've got huge ceiling guys surrounding him. Again, probably fine, probably gets through it. I think Urquidy has more upside, and again, is cheaper. So I'm just going to go that way personally. Guys, pop in your questions and thoughts. I'm going to get out of here a little earlier than usual today. I've got some stuff to take care of, but I'm happy to answer any questions, any thoughts, any ideas, and hopefully make us some money on this slate. I'm going to make sure we don't have a Dodger lineup yet, because I'm going to have to pivot again and get all weird with it if they don't play Jake Lamb again today. And again, I'm doing a lot of 3-3-2s on DraftKings, a lot of 4-2-2s, a lot of 4-2-1-1s. Not as many 5-man stacks for me today because of the quality of a lot of the pitching. And if you're going to look for a blow-up spot, to me, the Yankees, Dodgers, and Braves are the top 3 that I could see just going completely ham on this slate. What makes me nervous about the Braves, why I like them a little bit more as a mini stack, is we know what Fedde is. You can run on him, great. Acuna is gonna steal a base if he gets on base today. He gives up some power. Acuna might hit a home run, and you've got a lot of guys there who can hit home runs. Hasn't given up more than 1 home run in the start. Always sort of squeaks his way into not giving up a ton of runs. Has had 2 bad outings this year where he got lit up to the point where we could win with a stack against him. But he keeps the ball on the ground. And that makes it a little bit harder to want so much of it. Also, we've got a little bit of weather concerns there. Nothing too crazy. It's Atlanta. You know what happens. But Atlanta does get the boost also because of the heat. But I'm a little worried about the weather. And the Dodgers, again, blowing out to center field, 9 miles an hour, 74 degrees. Pretty good for an evening game at Dodger Stadium, even in July. So that's what I'm doing. Anybody else fire on in, please like and subscribe, all that stuff. But want to keep just pretty simple. Other one-offs that I think are very strong plays for value, because everybody always seems to need some value. So let's get to it. I'm going to look at my priorities. Aaron Hicks, not going to be unowned at all, but 2,500 on DK is kind of silly. Candelario, probably not going to go there. It's a little too much for me. Too weird of a play. Alec Thomas, obviously, he's a chalky one, but one that I like quite a bit. Looking at some other values that I have. Michael Chavis, if you're on the other side of that Pittsburgh-Milwaukee game. I think Chavis at 2,200 batting third, just for no other reason than he's 2,200 batting third is plenty of enough of a reason to play him. It does take up a first base spot, so it's a little tougher to do on DK because we have some good first basemen out there. Derek Hall, another one you could use at 2,600 that no one's going to use today because of the matchup and everything, but I'm totally good with that one. Joey Gallo in Yankees stacks, Jake Lamb, assuming that he's in the lineup for the Dodgers, especially in mini stacks or stacks. The Yankees are fine as a full stack. Because they're going to be popular as they are on as big of a slate, I'm treating them as a mini stack for me and hoping I get my home runs right. But I am playing some full Yankee stack. So, and on FanDuel, yes, you're playing 4 Yankees, I think is what you're going to do. So that's what I got. That's pretty much where I'm at as far as what I'm doing today. I've got a ton of Bellinger, Betts, Judge, Acuna, Ozuna, and Hicks are my main outfielders. For my other positions, shortstop, I needed a few cheap ones here, and we'll see if Dubon bats early in the order for Houston. I don't mind him. He's 2,300 as a guy we can save money on. I forgot to mention him before. Trey Turner is the number one option for me at shortstop. You can use Kiner Falefa in your Yankee stacks and all that. I love Donaldson at third. I think he's going to be pretty popular on both sites. I think it's a good play. He's starting to find his swing, which we've been waiting for. Back-to-back homer games for me are showing me that he still does have the ability. It's just been a while. We haven't really seen much of it this year. LeMahieu, Muncy, Turner, some of these guys with multiple eligibilities are all guys I'm going to be high on. If you're not LeMahieu, you're playing Labor at second. First base is going to be Olsen, Lamb for me a lot on DK just because of Lamb does the price saving thing for me where I'm allowed to play Betts and Judge in enough lineups and Acuna, guys like that all together. So that's a rundown of what I'm doing. Let me know what you're doing, and I am probably going to be here for 3 more minutes. So pop them on in there because I got nothing else to offer you other than what exactly I'm doing, and you guys know most of it. I did post my early builds. It hasn't changed drastically. It's changed a little because some guys were out like Stanton. And I'm still very into these teams. It is really weird. Like every night I feel like it seems like that both, the other team that's sort of getting overlooked. And you know what, maybe for good enough reason. It's not a ideal matchup at all, but Pablo Lopez, who I like, in general as a pitcher, has had some really bad outings this season and hasn't really been himself, pitching a lot more to contact than usual, giving up a lot of home runs. So I could see maybe doing the New York thing again. And hey, if you did it last night, you probably made a ton of money, and that could be a weird way to maybe win a big tournament tonight. St. Louis at home, why would it? I don't understand why at home they would be any different than anywhere else. St. Louis I would rate as probably my least favorite stack on the board. Along with maybe Oakland. I don't know. They're probably lower than Oakland even, actually. I don't see a reason to try to pick on the best pitcher on the slate. We get these a lot, and sometimes it works. It worked the other day when I didn't want to do it. But why do I want to pick on a pitcher who hasn't given up more than 3? I'm going to take a full stack on a full slate for a pitcher who has only given up more than 3 runs in a game once this season, and basically is a lock for 6 innings every time he pitches, plus, obviously. And I just don't see the reason why I would do that with St. Louis. I just have absolutely zero interest in them. Real Muto and Hoskins, fine. Yeah, absolutely good with them. I don't think that looking at BVP versus what is the BVP on those two? What they have, like 20 at bats off of them, 15 at bats. Pretty small sample, I'm guessing. So I don't really care if they have good numbers against him. I think they're fine. I think Wainwright has regressed a little bit this year, and I think that taking some Philly bats is definitely fine. So I'll put it that way. Okay, I'm going to go through all my pitchers again. That was my whole thing. We could just, okay, so pitchers, Gallen, Giolito, this is not in order, Wheeler, Skubal, Bassett, and Ashby. Those are basically the 6 guys I'm using on DK, and then I'm throwing in Urquidy a little bit on FanDuel. I could care less if anybody has less than 10 at bats and wants to tell me somebody has BVP. It means absolutely 0, 0, 0, 0 to me. But again, you can always play guys who in reasonable spots and good hitting weather and all that stuff. I think that's totally fine. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got. I'm going to go out and build my lineups pretty soon. And that's pretty much where I'm at. Anything else for you guys? And always correct, because now we get some more people who are coming in from different things. I don't know when people say, "Do I love any love for St. Louis at home?" Am I betting on St. Louis to win? I'm guessing we're talking only DFS, but in terms of win equity, I don't necessarily like that either. So, but I don't think it's anything wrong with it. I like their chances to win better than I do like their chances to be one of the better offenses on this slate. Put it that way. Yeah, I do like Cleveland and KC. They're both teams that I think both sides are stackable. They've got cheap options that you can use. I don't think that you want to necessarily. I personally don't want to full stack these guys, but I'm totally good. You've got on FanDuel, you've got Quan super cheap. Ramirez is probably too cheap as long as he's under 6K anytime. But both sides of that game, I think, are both mini stackable. I would use them as complementaries to my main stacks, which for me are the Yankees, Atlanta, the Dodgers, and potentially Milwaukee. So that's my spiel, guys. Good luck to everybody tonight. I hope you crush it. I will try to do my best to pop in my thoughts in Discord throughout the weekend, and let's make some money tonight. Let's do it. I feel good that somebody from True DFS is going to have a big night, and if it's not me, I certainly hope it's one of you guys. So good luck to everybody, and we'll hopefully see you at the top of the leaderboards.